It's the lunch break.
You're live.
Don't look now. The Arizona Diamondbacks have a 3-game winning streak. The first depth chart of the season for the Arizona Cardinals. Have the D-backs already fixed something before we get to the 2026 season? All of that, the focus of hour number 1 of the lunch break right here on KDUS AM 1060. Chris Schubert with you for the next 2 hours on this, the Tuesday edition of the program. Producer Evan is behind the glass. He's taking your phone calls, 480-864-1060. You can also join us over on the KDUS AM 1060 YouTube live stream. Sounds a little different, working from home today. Producer Evan holding down the fort back there at the KDUS AM 1060 studios. We still got all the same stuff planned for you here today on the program. And so with that in mind, let's talk about the baseball team last night. Lots of positives and a reminder for us not to forget about somebody. So let's take it away with the Daily Special.
For our top story of the day, it's the Daily Special.
3 straight wins for the Arizona Diamondbacks as they defeat the San Diego Padres last night by a final score of 6-2, and a lot of great takeaways from this game. Tyler Locklear goes deep for his first home run as a member of the Arizona Diamondbacks. You see on full display. When you trade for a player, when you trade for a prospect, and it's a player that you're not familiar with, you read scouting reports. You see what the player has done in the minor leagues. You look at the skills in those scouting reports that everybody rants and raves about. But it's something different when you see it with your own 2 eyes. So it's one thing for everybody to tell us that there's power. There's one thing for the scouting reports to tell us that Tyler Locklear has plus power and can hit a ton of home runs, and you just have to worry about him catching up to the fastball. It's another thing to see it. It's another thing to see that power on full display like we saw it last night. So that was an encouraging takeaway. But to me, the other encouraging takeaway is the start that Brandon Pfaadt put together to pick up his 11th win of the season, going 5 2/3, allowing just 2 earned runs, 3 walks, 2 of them coming right at the beginning of the game. And I'm sure many of you sitting at home watching the game last night when the first 2 batters, when Fernando Tatis and Luis Arraez get on base with walks and immediately the Diamondbacks are in trouble, you're thinking all that good stuff that happened over the weekend, those good feelings, good vibes from what this team was able to do in that series in Sacramento against the A's was going to very quickly go out the window. Well, instead, Brandon Pfaadt buckled down and did a really nice job working out of that jam, scattered those 2 runs across the 5 2/3. And Brandon Pfaadt is a very important Diamondback to keep an eye on here over the final 2 months of the season. With that start last night, Brandon has made 23 starts this season. And I don't have to tell producer Evan this. We talk a lot about this in the morning meeting when we're talking about random baseball-related things. We don't have pitchers in today's game that post 30-plus starts every year. You just don't have that very often. You don't have that consistency. I don't know if it's because guys are throwing harder and they're getting hurt more often, but it is a skill to prepare yourself, keep your body in shape enough to keep your workload manageable enough to where you can go 30 starts every year. And with his 23rd start last night, Brandon Pfaadt is only 7 starts away from making it back-to-back seasons with 30 starts for the Arizona Diamondbacks. It's not something you see every day. Now, the Diamondbacks need better than just a guy that's going to take the ball every 5th day and give you 30 starts. They need better than the 5 ERA that Brandon has given them this season. They need better than the 4.7 ERA that he had in those 32 starts last year. But remember, this is a pitcher that the Diamondbacks, even after that 4.71 ERA season last year in those 32 starts, they believed in, to the point where they gave him a contract extension, paying him through his age 32 season. He's 26 right now, locked up for the next 5-6 seasons. He's got a club option for 2031, a mutual option for 2032. This is a player that the Diamondbacks believe in. This is a player that the Diamondbacks are going to build their future rotation around. Same goes for Ryan Nelson, but we're talking about Brandon Pfaadt right now. And the answer, obviously, is pretty simple when you look underneath the hood and you look at the numbers. Brandon Pfaadt's struggles, I think, can directly be tied to he's not getting as many strikeouts and the balls that are getting hit harder. Tells me that swing and miss that maybe he had a little bit early in his career when he was striking out 9 guys per 9 innings has started to fade a little bit. And this is where a young pitcher, a pitching development lab, your pitching coaches have to get together at the end of this season and come up with a game plan. And if it's an arsenal change, if it is a pitch shape change, not to get too all, and you can play the drop if you want, producer Evan, not to get all nerdy on everybody, but if you went under the hood and made some tweaks to the way Brandon Pfaadt operated with his pitch shape, with maybe adding a certain pitch that works better for the way that he releases the ball, could the Diamondbacks start to see the results that they want to see from him and that they think they can see from him, or else they would not have given him that contract in the first place? Now,
I'm a huge nerd.
Yeah, thank you. But we're all nerds around here, especially when it comes to baseball. And Brandon Pfaadt has had stretches where he has looked like a dominant young starting pitcher to build around. There have been stretches where Brandon Pfaadt, and more so last year than this year, where Brandon Pfaadt has looked like a guy that, man, Diamondbacks locked this guy up. This is going to be great long term. They're going to have a future number 2, number 3 pitcher, and you need those. You can't have 5 aces. I know we'd all like that. I know we all would love to live in this world where you can just have 5 number 1s that go out there and throw 6 or 7 innings and strike out 10 and just dominate. It's not how the way baseball works. You have an ace, sometimes maybe you have 2 aces, but you need guys that post every day and give you a chance to win. And I think Brandon Pfaadt can be that pitcher, because let's just break it down month by month. He had that really bad May with an ERA above 8. June was better, but not great, with a 6.26 ERA. He's had a 4.35 ERA in July, and obviously just with the one start here in August, a 3.18 ERA. The first half, an ERA north of 5. The second half, an ERA below 4.5. His second half of this year would be the best career ERA that he had in a single season. So peaking at the right time. Now, there's an old adage in baseball. You don't overreact to things you see in the first month or the last month of the season. It kind of sets you up for failure to overreact to a team getting off to a hot start or a team being slow out of the gate in the beginning of the year. And the opposite works in September. The last thing you want to do is see a team get hot over the final month of the season and then pick them as your trendy pick for next season. Team finishes with a great record in September when they have nothing to play for, and everyone goes, oh, that's the launching point. That's what's going to take them into the next year. They're going to be my trendy pick to turn it around, go from worst to first, be a wild card team the next season. There's some danger in doing that because you play a lot of teams that aren't playing for anything. Off-season's right around the corner. Vacation is right around the corner. You're not playing for a whole lot. There's not that pressure associated with it. But we're not there yet. This is just after the trade deadline. These games matter to the team that the Diamondbacks played last night. San Diego Padres need these games. They are trying to chase down the Los Angeles Dodgers in the NL West. It is not wrapped up the way many of us thought it was going to be for the Dodgers. It's only a 3-game difference between the Padres and the Dodgers. Speaking of the wild card, those same Padres are trying to hold on to a spot right now. The Reds just 3 games behind them in the standings for that 3rd and final wild card spot in the NL wild card race. So these games matter to the San Diego Padres. You want to cast aside what happened over the weekend because it's the A's and they're one of the worst teams in all of baseball, one of the worst teams in the American League, and they traded Mason Miller at the deadline? Fine. What's your excuse for last night for the Padres? They needed that game. They need every game here down the stretch. And the Diamondbacks, I don't know if it was Mike Hazen's speech over the weekend that inspired them, or it's this young core that we keep touting that's going to be here in 2026 starting to play a little bit better. We know offensively there's still a lot of talent. We're going to talk a little bit later on in this hour that maybe the Diamondbacks have fixed some of their bullpen woes and issues. A jump start on 2026's bullpen. You saw it again last night. How about Andrew Hoffman getting called up? Kevin Ginkel gets placed on the IL. Andrew Hoffman, one of the relievers that was acquired at the trade deadline, part of the Randall Grichuk trade, the return for Randall Grichuk, gets thrown in, and you saw it. What did I say when we broke down the Andrew Hoffman-Randall Grichuk swap? Guy who throws it a solid fastball, but his changeup is his primary offering. Threw 12 pitches last night, 7 changeups, 5 fastballs. Went to the fastball predominantly, or the changeup predominantly, because that is his best pitch. So you saw it on display last night. Tyler Locklear home run. Brandon Pfaadt on the mound. Andrew Hoffman in relief. The young Diamondbacks that are going to be here next year contributing last night. 3 wins in a row, feeling good about things.
Real quick, did you see the funny Andrew Hoffman story?
No, but I'm sure you're going to tell me about it because I said no.
So his car is in Reno.
That's where he was, yeah, because he was in Reno.
He sent his car, right, to Reno. Mm-hmm. He hasn't been to Reno yet. So they were on the road, and now they're home. So his car is in Reno. He hasn't been there yet. So he probably won't be there.
So he gets traded. He gets traded from Kansas City, or the Kansas City minor league system, to the Diamondbacks, joins the team, gets assigned to Reno, makes some appearances for Reno, but does so on the road. Gets his stuff all sent to Reno because that's where he thinks he's going to be. Boom, we need you in the big leagues. Go ahead, kid.
All his stuff is in Reno.
I don't want to be this guy and say, hey, maybe you want to keep the car in Reno because I don't know if your roster spot is locked up. But you called him up at this point. He pitched well. Worked 2 innings, right? 2 up downs, came in an inning, sat down, came back up to pitch a second inning, finished with an inning and a third total of work. Get a look of him over the last 2 months. We said most of the guys that the Diamondbacks got at the deadline, we were going to see here down the stretch. Cole Drake, potentially the next guy up. Juan Burgos, one of the relievers they got back in their dealings with Seattle. All of these guys, Brandon Garcia, all these guys we want to see here over these final 2 months because, again, it's all an evaluation point. The results don't matter. Do I love that the Diamondbacks have won 3 in a row right now? Do I love that they're showing some fight? Absolutely. No, they're not going to be the 2024 Detroit Tigers. Don't mistake what I'm saying that they're going to go on that type of run. But would I like to see them at least play well towards the tail end of the season? Yeah, because while I just said September doesn't matter, right? And we're not going to overreact too much to September. I do want to see the team, especially the players that we know are going to be here next year, put some good stuff on tape, go into the offseason feeling good about themselves so that 2026, there are less question marks for Mike Hazen to answer. That's where I stand.
They have an opportunity to do that, right? And so it was fun watching this weekend, fun watching last night. Listen, they're 4 games into what we think this era of Diamondbacks baseball is going to be over the next few months. But so far, so good. A lot of positive signs.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot to complain about when after you were sellers at the deadline and you moved some fan favorites. Eugenio Suarez was a fan favorite. Josh Naylor, in the short time that he was here, became a fan favorite, right? Merrill Kelly, ultimate fan favorite, right? Guy that just took the ball. And what we were just talking about with Brandon Pfaadt, being a guy that posts. Merrill Kelly was that guy, took the ball all the time for this organization. You trade all those fan favorites, and the expectation is you kind of just let the air out of the balloon, right? There's going to be a letdown. Well, instead, since the trade deadline, team's 3-1. You'll take it. Again, are they going to go? They're 8 games out of a playoff spot. Are they going to go on some magical run to make the postseason? No, they're not going to do that. But guess what? I'll take a 3-1 stretch coming out of the trade deadline when you sell some major pieces and the players that are at the center of this 3-game, this 3-1 stretch since the trade deadline are all players that we think can play roles in 2026. Beautiful thing to see.
And that's the most important part is knowing what you have. Even if these guys aren't the answer, you have to know what you have if you want to be relevant next year. And so playing these guys every day, Locklear, 4 games in, they have a first baseman.
Well, okay, easy there, hotshot. We're not sure yet. Let's just see. It's an encouraging start, right? The home run displayed. There aren't a lot of guys in baseball that can hit a ball that hard that far, right? So you saw the power on display. That is his calling card. That is the thing that's going to allow him to stick at the big leagues. It's the consistency. It's as pitchers and as these teams get a scouting report on Locklear, can he make the adjustment to their adjustment? That only comes with time. That's only going to come with the reps that we see from him. But the perfect start for Locklear. Had a nice day over the weekend, had a multi-hit game, stole a base, showed off that skill, and now at home, first game in front of the home crowd, potentially his home for the next half decade, right? If not longer, is able to make that type of moment. So yeah, certainly encouraging. Again, you had your young starter on the mound deliver. You had your young first baseman that you got back in a trade deliver. One of your relief options that you picked up at the deadline contributed in a big way. No complaints across the board for the Diamondbacks last night in this one. 480-864-1060 is the phone number for you to join us here today on the program. We've also got you over on the KDUS AM 1060 YouTube live stream. John's over there and says no whiteboard at home either. We do not have a whiteboard here in the home studio. I said whiteboard by the end of the week so we can keep track of all things related to the lunch break. We still have multiple days left in the week. I'm not in the building today, so I can't ask if there is a whiteboard floating around that we can use. I may just go for the ask for forgiveness, not for permission, and just take the first whiteboard that I see that appears to be unoccupied, and then we'll just deal with that if there are any repercussions from just commandeering a whiteboard in the building. When we come back, it was the first depth chart of the season. It was released yesterday for the Arizona Cardinals. And while there may not be many surprises, it did reveal something very important. We'll talk about it next. It's the lunch break. KDUS, AM 1060.
The Varsity Sports Show.
You're live.
Now, I don't think this rises to the level some of the other major days on the NFL calendar. This is not the first day of NFL free agency. This is not the first day of the NFL draft. This is not opening night. But to some, the first day that we get depth charts in the NFL is one to celebrate. I'm sure producer Evan went through all 32 teams and looked at their first depth charts as they got released over the last couple of days.
I you know me, started in an alphabetical order, started with the Cardinals, went all the way down.
Yeah, I knew you were just going to be combing over all 32 of these depth charts to just see which positional battles, where they stood in this first check-in before the beginning of the season, because this is important. I mean, the teams wouldn't put this out if it wasn't true. There's a lot to take account of here, right? I mean, it's a very important day.
It's huge. It's huge.
Hopefully,
lets you know as a player where you stand on the roster.
Hopefully, you can catch the sarcasm in our voices when discussing this. But the depth chart was released yesterday, and everyone is keeping an eye on things. And I do think there is something notable that comes out of the depth chart being released yesterday by the Arizona Cardinals ahead of their first preseason game. And the notable thing is nothing is surprising. Everything is where it should be. You open up ArizonaCardinals.com, you go to the depth chart, and you look at every position. Nothing surprises you. All the players that you expect to be in their spot are in their spot. You go up and down each side of the ball, and you don't see a major question mark. We can do the thing here on the show. I'll go down. I have it here on the other screen. We'll go down in order. Wide receiver 1, Marvin Harrison Jr. Surprising to anybody? The offensive line, Paris Johnson, Evan Brown, Yoda Froholt, Isaiah Adams, Jonah Williams. The offensive line that we've been talking about all offseason long. Tight end, Trey McBride. Zay Jones, Michael Wilson on the other side with wide receivers 2 and 3. Kyler Murray at quarterback. Jacoby Brissett is his backup. James Conner and Trey Benson, 1-2 on the running back. The continuity of this roster allows you to go to the end of last year and say that's the starting lineup for the 2025 Arizona Cardinals on offense. And defensively, anybody got a problem with Darius Robinson starting? Anybody got a problem with Dalvin Tomlinson, Calais Campbell starting? Josh Sweat, Mac Wilson, Akeem Davis Gaither, Zaven Collins. Now, they have 3 corners listed here and 12 total defensive positions. And as Darren Urban correctly points out in the story that I saw on ArizonaCardinals.com, the Cardinals we would believe in them a lot more defensively if they could play 12 defenders, because that feels like an advantage that nobody else will have. They are listing 12 starting positions on defense. They have all 3 corners there, and it's the 3 corners that you would expect. Max Melton, Will Johnson, Garrett Williams. At safety, it's Jalen Thompson, it's Budda Baker. This depth chart being released is important for one very important reason. I think we all know this. I think we all feel this. I think we've all sensed this over the last couple of years. But seeing it on paper here yesterday confirmed this is what a stable organization looks like. From a football roster perspective, this is what a stable organization looks like. Put to the side the concerns about Michael Bidwell and the NFLPA report card. We do not have to rehash that here today. But from a GM, coach, roster, and personnel perspective, this is how stable organizations operate. The depth chart rolls out. It's the beginning of the season. Training camp's here. Preseason's right around the corner. And you're comfortable at all the spots. You don't have a major weakness. Do I want to know who's going to win the tight end 2 battle between Elijah Higgins and Tip Ryman? Yeah, I'm paying attention to that. Do I want to know who's going to be the backup on the interior of the offensive line because Kelvin Beacham's going to be the swing tackle? Yeah, because we're football nerds. We care about that stuff. Do I want to know who's going to be winning that job between Zaven Collins, Baron Browning, and B.J. Ojulari? And we'll get to that in hour number 2 of the program. Yeah. But those are secondary backup type roles in most cases. Not really who's my starting quarterback? Who's my wide receiver 1? Do I have 5 starters on my offensive line? Because trust me, we can pick out other teams You want to go down to New Orleans and look at their depth chart right now? You want to go to Carolina and look at theirs? Just pick. Pick a team that's selected in the top 10 of the NFL draft last year. Most teams don't have the stability at very key positions, all positions. It's a credit to this front office. It's a credit to the way they attack this offseason because guess what? Last year, Dalvin Tomlinson wasn't on this depth chart. Calais Campbell wasn't on this depth chart. Josh Sweat wasn't on this depth chart. And last summer, if we were doing a show last summer, about to celebrate our 1-year anniversary of the lunch break coming up here in October, if we were doing a show last summer and this day came and we were talking about the first depth chart for the Arizona Cardinals, you know what we would say? Man, this interior of the defensive line, do they have enough? Are they going to be able to get after the quarterback? How are they going to free up opportunities for Zaven Collins? How are they going to free up opportunities for LJ Collier and Darius Robinson? Just naming some of the guys that were here last season. All of those questions don't exist anymore. And it is a credit to what we have been talking about here for the last couple of weeks. And it is a reason why we defend those who don't view the coaching staff of this Cardinals organization highly, and for those who think that there's some type of hot seat that Jonathan Gannon and company sit on. This took a lot of work to get this depth chart into this place. Now, this is just on paper. This is something we can print out, we can hang up, we can keep an eye on it. These players have to perform. But boy, does it feel better looking at this on paper than it has over the last couple of years. And boy, does it feel different going into this training camp with all of these vibes, with all of this optimism, feeling good about where this team stands. Not having a major position battle to keep an eye on, like who's going to be the right tackle, or who's going to be your starting center, or who's going to be your star pass rusher. Those have been some of the conversations that this team's had over the last couple of years, but all across the NFL, there are teams that have those types of position battles, not the Arizona Cardinals. And that is a check mark for stability. Something that this organization has not had over the last couple of years. And this is what Monty was brought in here for. It's what his goal was when he first became the general manager. What Jonathan Gannon needed to do with his first year as the coach, evaluate this roster, see where they needed to get better, and slowly make those improvements. And now here we are in year 3. This is where you're supposed to take that major leap. And as that year comes, as we start preseason games over the weekend, roster's in the best place it's been in a really long time. So that was my takeaway from the depth chart being released to all of us yesterday. Not caring where guys were, but just this feeling of when you open it, like, oh yeah, a reminder of we've got it pretty good right now with this football team. They've got to answer some questions. They've got to take care of business in some ways. They've got to step up. We've talked about it being a prove-it year for many. The results have to be there. But on paper, we go into this season feeling the most confident about this franchise, this football team, than we've had in a really long time. Probably since I've moved here. I don't think there's been a team this confident, that we felt this confident in. 480-864-1060 is the phone number for you to join us here today on the program. You can also join us over on the KDUS AM 1060 YouTube live stream as well. When we come back, have the Diamondbacks already fixed one of their major issues before we've gotten to 2026? That's next in the lunch break. KDUS AM 1060.
Attention all clones.
You're live.
Buy or sell coming up about 10 minutes or so from now. I want to dive back into the Arizona Diamondbacks. And shout out to Jack Summers for putting these numbers together. I saw this on social media this morning. But the Diamondbacks may have solved what was a major problem for them this season and what was, at least on the surface, going to be a major problem for them going into 2026. Because this is where the Diamondbacks bullpen stood through June 29th. So just as we flip the calendar to July, this is where the Diamondbacks bullpen stood. They were 21st in innings pitched. They were 29th in ERA with a 5.31 ERA. Their homers per nine, 1.3. That was good for 29th, second worst in baseball. Their strikeouts per nine, middle of the road at 8.9. Their walks per nine, not very good at 3.8. All numbers that you can't have as a bullpen. I mean, Producer Evan, the two things you can't do if you're part of a bullpen. You can't walk guys. You can't give up the long ball. Just the two things. You don't want your starters to do that, but your relievers are coming in with runners on base. Your relievers are coming in close games. You can't give free passes. You can't extend innings, and you can't give up the long ball. And through June, as the calendar flipped to July, the Diamondbacks 29th in home runs per nine, 21st in walks per nine. Bad at both of those things.
I mean, those are the cardinal rules, right? Don't put free guys on base. Don't give up the long balls and let the inherited runner score.
Right.
They were bad at both.
When you build a bullpen, you normally build it with one or two guys in mind that are good at handling guys on the bases, handling that inherited runner base traffic. So you can't have a bullpen that walks guys to make that problem worse or gives up the long ball so that in those spots, what could very easily just have been a solo home run ends up being a 2 or 3 run home run that takes a 1-run deficit or a 1-run lead and turns it into a 2-run deficit or a 4-run deficit. So you can't walk guys. You can't give up the long ball. Well, since June 30th, and again, credit to Jack Summers for putting these numbers on social media, Diamondbacks bullpen went from 29th in ERA to 6th in ERA, 3.29. They went from 29th in homers per nine at 1.3 to the best bullpen in baseball, 0.5 home runs per nine. Walks, 3.8 walks per nine, 21st in all of baseball. They've gone to 2.9 walks per nine, good enough for 4th in all of baseball. Now, it is a bigger sample size from the start of the season through June 29th. It is a smaller sample size from June 30th up until August 5th as we are sitting here today. But there is a night and day difference, a Jekyll and Hyde difference between the bullpen that we saw through the first couple of months of the season and the bullpen that we have seen over the last two. Now, you can't put that on the new guys that they brought in because we haven't seen those new guys for an extended period of time. Those new guys just got here. So you have a group that has made some tweaks. They've brought some guys back, right? Andrew Saalfrank came back from his suspension and has been good. Kyle Backus has been a player that they've called up, and he has been solid. You look at the Diamondbacks depth chart. You look at the guys that they currently have in their bullpen as we sit here right now. Jalen Beeks just came back from injury. He's been good for most of the year. But you look at Backus and Saalfrank as two guys who have really come in and done a nice job. Saalfrank is a sub-1 ERA. Andrew Hoffman has a 3 ERA in the season, but been stellar in his one outing last night for the Diamondbacks. Kyle Backus has been good, picking up a save. They've just had a much better group as of late. And going into 2026, going into a season where, let's face it, they're not going to have Justin Martinez to start the year. I don't know when Justin Martinez is going to play for the Diamondbacks in 2026. I don't know. I don't know when A.J. Puck is going to pitch for the Diamondbacks in 2026. Coming off of these injuries, you can assume you can take the date of the surgery and go out 10 to 12 months and try to ballpark it, add a month maybe to just get them some minor league stuff. But you don't know how these are going to go. So the Diamondbacks need other guys to step up. That's why we talk so much about Brandon Garcia and Andrew Hoffman and Juan Burgos, the relievers they got at the deadline, and why seeing them over these final 2 months was going to be so important, because you have to build a bullpen again. You have to take the good from the last 2 months players like Kyle Backus, players like Andrew Salfrank, and you have to piece it together with the young players. Andrew Hoffman, hopefully he can have a good end of the season. Hopefully Juan Burgos can get up here and show that elite swing and miss stuff, that elite not walking guys. You want somebody that fits right into what this team has been doing over the last 2 months. Juan Burgos does not walk anybody. You have to add those guys in, and then you start to feel a little bit better about where things stand going into 2026, because I don't care how good your starting rotation is. I don't care how good you think your offense is. If you don't have a bullpen that can hold down leads late, you don't stand a chance.
We knew that this bullpen needed to be reconstructed. We talked about it for weeks headed up to the deadline. You need major league ready arms. So they went out and they got major league ready arms that are ready to help in the bullpen now and in 2026. They've reconstructed a group that they really needed to make changes in. It's a nice job by Mike Hazen.
It's why I'm so excited for these prospects to get called up, because I just think it's going to fuel some optimism here for people that think this is going to take a little bit longer. There are some out there that think 2026 is going to be a lost season. I'm not willing to put myself in that camp yet, because Andrew Hoffman looked good last night. That's one outing. He's got to put it together over 2 months. The bullpen's been good since June 30th. We just shared the numbers with you. They're limiting those home runs. They're not walking guys. They're not making it more difficult out there in that pen. You don't know when Justin Martinez and AJ Puck are coming back. So you got to build out a whole new bullpen, and they got to jumpstart on that with some of the moves that they made at the deadline. It wasn't their overarching big theme. They got some starters back. They got a first baseman back in a deal, but they certainly prioritized, hey, we're probably going to need 6 or 7 arms going into next season. So let's get a jump start, because you can't get 6 in one offseason. That's a little difficult. Maybe they got 3 already. Maybe they've put themselves in a position where at the start of next year, Andrew Salfrank could be in that bullpen. I wonder if Andrew Hoffman, Juan Burgos, Brandon Garcia, I got 4 names right there. You got Kevin Ginkel. Hopefully he can have a bounce back year next season for this squad. That would be your veteran out there. You've got 1 more year of him. You got Ryan Thompson, potentially, if he can bounce back. He has got 1 more year beyond this year. You start to feel a little bit better about the way this bullpen sets up. That's why doing what they did at the deadline was so important. They needed to kickstart their offseason. And since June 30th, so before they made all these moves, their bullpen has been much, much better. And if you can solve that, if you can have a bullpen that Torrey's got more confidence in, that Mike Hazen has more confidence in, that we have more confidence in when watching them, it's much easier to hold on to that 5-4 lead late. It's much easier to win those baseball games when you have a trusted pen. Go look at what the great teams in baseball this year did at the deadline. Go look at what the Philadelphia Phillies did at the deadline. Go look at what the team you're playing right now, the San Diego Padres, did at the deadline. They traded the number 3 prospect in the game to get another arm for their already elite, great bullpen. The Mets added 3 relievers at the deadline. The Phillies, as I just mentioned, added Johan Duran. You had the Mason Miller go from the A's to the Padres. Why? Because teams realize you have to have options out there in the bullpen, and that is what I think the Diamondbacks are trying to put together here over the final 2 months of the season.
And so far it hasn't worked, but the Yankees added 4 bullpen arms.
Sure, I shouldn't have left them out, but it hasn't worked for them as of late recently. They lost again last night with that bullpen. It was Devin Williams. It was the guy that they traded for in the offseason. But yes, they traded for Devin Williams in the offseason. During the year at the deadline, they had David Bednar, closer in Pittsburgh. They had Camilo Doval, who's a former closer in San Francisco. They had Bird, a solid reliever for the Rockies, who they sent down today because he's been struggling. And so they rebuilt their bullpen on the fly. They built a super bullpen. They built a deep bullpen where 5th inning, all right, let's go to the trusted high-leverage relievers and let's hold on to a lead. That's what you need to do in today's game, because you don't get a ton of length from your starters in 2025. You don't get a ton of length from your starters in today's era of baseball.
Especially where this rotation is going to sit in 2026. And barring them making major moves in the offseason, we know what this rotation is going to look like. It's going to be a lot of young arms. It's going to be catalyzed by some of your younger pitchers. Yeah, you have to make sure that your bullpen is built to handle that.
Yeah, the only 3 guarantees for the rotation next year are Eduardo Rodriguez, Ryan Nelson, and Brandon Pfaadt. And you like a little of that. I like Ryan Nelson being towards the top of the rotation. I think Brandon Pfaadt, with an offseason of some tweaks, can be a better version of himself in 2026. But you do have 2 spots to fill. Could those be filled by returning Merrill Kelly? Could those be filled by Zach Allen accepting a qualifying offer? Could it be Cole Drake or one of the other young pitchers that the Diamondbacks got back at the deadline? Sure, could be any of those candidates. But what we said earlier this week about flexibility when it comes to running a team and putting together a roster, Mike Hazen is building that flexibility so where he can go wherever the market takes him. When you are desperate, when you are a desperate team, you overpay, or you have to overpay in order to get that player. And the Diamondbacks are not going to be in a position to do that. 480-864-1060 is the phone number for you to join us here today on the program. We've also got you over on the KDUS AM 1060 YouTube live stream. Hey, make sure you download the KDUS AM 1060 app. Stream us on KDUS1060.com. You can listen over there for your chance to win 4 tickets for the Diamondbacks when they take on the Colorado Rockies this Saturday, August 9th at Chase Field. The Force strong at Chase Field. First 20,000 fans in attendance are going to get a Corbin Cowell Rebel Pilot bobble, courtesy of Cox. We've got your chance to win 4 tickets for listening on the app. Just make sure you're logged in, registered while you are listening, and you will have your chance to win. I think we pick that winner tomorrow, so you got 2 more days to get in there. When we come back, we wrap up hour number 1 of the program. A little buy or sell, the hottest takes in Sports Talk Radio. Producer Evan has them. I'm buying or selling those takes. We'll do it next. It's the lunch break. KDUS AM 1060.
Join in.
You're live.
Back here on the lunch break, KDUS AM 1060, wrapping up hour number 1 of the program. A little buy or sell, the hottest takes in sports talk radio. Producer Evan has them. I'm reacting to them, buying or selling what he has. So, Producer Evan, what do you have for us today? My guess is a skew towards football. It's just my guess.
Honestly, no. I would say it's very skewed towards baseball.
Really? Okay, not what I anticipated. First depth chart out. It's preseason week. We got to get ready. It's game week in the NFL. I thought maybe that it would skew that way. Maybe when we get to Thursday or Friday, it will be that way. Maybe.
I will start with a football one.
Great.
Kyler Murray should get snaps in the preseason. It would help him in an extremely important season.
So this ties into a offshoot conversation that we had yesterday during the show, talking about preseason and how it is not the preseason of old, where your starters would play one series in the first game and then maybe bump it up to 2 series or a quarter in the second game. And then the third game, they would maybe play the whole first half and then come out to start the second half and maybe get that fourth game off or get a little bit of time in that fourth game, maybe take one series and then be done, just to have some action going into the first week. We don't live in that world anymore. We talked yesterday about whether or not the Cardinals should have Kyler Murray start in the preseason. He has not played in the preseason over the last couple of years, and I will sell this take. I do not think there is any reason for him to be out there. I know Cincinnati is putting Joe Burrow out there, so if Joe Burrow can go out there, why can't Kyler Murray? I think it's a little different in Cincinnati. They've had some slow starts, and so I think there's more of an optics thing there. Do I think there is some level of value in the idea of at least taking those snaps to say that you did it, even if it's just a 3 and out and then you're done for the night? I can see a case for it. I just wouldn't risk it. I just wouldn't chance it. The sloppy football is going to be there, whether he plays a series or he doesn't play at all. So I just wouldn't take the risk. So I will sell this take.
The D-backs will finish with a better win percentage post-deadline than they had pre-deadline.
All right, so now you're asking me to do some math. So before the deadline, do you have this number ready? Do you have the winning percentage handy? Because this is where the math matters. This is where we need to be nerds. Because at the deadline, they were, 7 games below 500?
7 games. I believe it was a 4.71.
Okay, so they need to play better than a 4.71 winning percentage in the second half if we are to believe your numbers. Off to a great start. 3-1 here. 750 winning percentage so far since the trade deadline. Maybe it's the optimist in me, because I've been a Mike Hazen defender here over the last couple of weeks, much to the chagrin of the social media audience. I've been getting crushed on social media for defending.
You have been.
Crushed. That's fine.
TikTok has not been kind to you.
I've been crushed for defending Mike Hazen in the Diamondbacks. That's fine. That's fine. I understand it comes with territory. I have been the optimist with this, so I'll continue it. Yeah, they'll have a better winning percent. Mainly because of the numbers we just shared that Jack Summers had. Like, their bullpen's been so much better over the last month, and that's going to help a ton.
That's exactly kind of why I thought of this, is they've been so efficient. They rebuilt a bullpen. I just think that alone makes them a better team down the stretch here than they were for the previous 4 months.
And they still have, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but Corbin Carroll didn't go anywhere. Ketel Marte didn't go anywhere. Perdomo didn't go anywhere. You still have some of the main core tenets of your offense. So they're still going to be able to score runs. They're going to get decent enough starting pitching, and their bullpen's been better as of late. Actually, in fact, it's been great in some key metrics. I will buy.
Sticking with the pitching staff, Ryan Nelson will be the opening day starter for the D-backs in 2026.
I see what you're doing here. Because you heard me say the other day in the hallway to somebody else, Ryan Nelson was the number 1 starter on this team right now. So now you want me to go on record here on the air. You want to take something that I shared in the quiet confines of our building with one of the other program directors. You now want to put me on record. All right, I'll take the bait. Yes, Ryan Nelson will be the opening day starter for the Arizona Diamondbacks in 2025.
Is it a Ryan Nelson, Brandon Pfaadt top 2?
In this world, is Zach Allen back on the team? Or is Zach Allen someplace else?
Let's say he's back on the team. I think they might be able to get him for a bargain. Actually.
If Zach Allen is back on this team, then he may be the opening day starter.
Just out of respect?
Out of respect. The longevity, been with the organization forever, has made multiple opening day starts in the past. So if he's healthy, you probably give him the nod. If he is not on this team, then I think it goes to somebody else. And I think it's a coin toss between Ryan Nelson and Brandon Pfaadt. I would go with who I think recently has been the better pitcher, and that's Ryan Nelson. So that would be the guy that I would go with. But if Zach Allen is on this squad, then I think he would get the nod. So I will buy Ryan Nelson as the opening day starter without Zach Allen on this team. If Zach Allen is back in 2026, then I will sell.
Some National Baseball stories here. Given the revamped bullpen, though I still think they've been playing poorly, the Yankees are in real danger of missing the playoffs.
Absolutely. Buy this take. And it's not just because of the bullpen, although that's a major problem. They're going to make a closer change here at some point. Devin Williams has been bad all year. Devin Williams only got the job back because Luke Weaver got hurt. And so David Bednar looked better in his most recent outing for the Yankees. I know he had a bad outing his first time down in Miami with them. So he's going to get probably the majority of the save opportunities. And then Williams will be put more into a lower leverage, medium leverage type role. So that's going to solve that problem. And I think Doval will be fine. I think Williams will be better. He was better when they moved him out of that role previously. The problem is I don't know if they have enough starting pitching because Fried was bad again last night, has been really bad since the All-Star break. Carlos Rodon hasn't been good recently for them. And if they don't have those two guys, they just got Luis Gil back from injury. What is he going to give you? What kind of length are you going to get from him? Is he going to hit a wall with an innings limit coming back from this injury? So just a lot of questions there. Judge coming off of the injury, how much is he going to be able to play in right? Do they have to put Stanton out there? Just way too many questions for me. And oh, by the way, they have a shortstop who's committed more errors than anybody else in the American League. They're booting the ball all over the place. They're making silly mistakes on the base paths. You were upset at the Diamondbacks' mistakes earlier on the base paths this season. Have you watched the Yankees as of late?
No, the reason that I was upset with the Diamondbacks early is I thought they played bad fundamental baseball and were bad on the base paths. Look at the Yankees.
Yeah.
They are the picture of what that looks like. Right now, they are playing some of the worst baseball I've ever seen played by a good baseball
And
team.
guess what? Because of it, the Red Sox have passed them in the standings. They are now tied with the Mariners for the second and third wild card spots. And they started a series with the Texas Rangers last night. They blew a lead and got walked off on. And the Texas Rangers are the team on the outside looking in of the wild card race, 1.5 games back. If you get swept in this series, you're going to be out of the playoffs by the end of the week. So bye. Yes, they're in real danger of missing the playoff.
Last one, another National Baseball story. Kyle Schwarber has a real case for National League MVP.
If the Phillies win the division, he certainly will be on the short list, right? You certainly would think that
to imagine
if they win the division and they get home field advantage or they get to host a home playoff series with the season that he's had. He hit 2 last night again for the Phillies?
2 last night, including a grand slam.
Yeah, so he's been having a great season. He's really been the center of their offense in so many ways. Hour number 1 of the program in the books. Hour number 2 right around the corner. Is there a major position battle to keep an eye on for the Cardinals as we start the preseason here this week? It's coming up next. Hour number 2, the lunch break, KDUS, AM 1060. Hour number 2, the lunch break. You're on KDUS AM 1060. Appreciate you joining us here on the program. We know you've got choices. We appreciate you spending some time with us here on the Tuesday edition of the program. You can join the show. 480-864-1060 is the phone number. You can also watch the program over on the KDUS AM 1060 YouTube live stream. You can see the home office setup for me today, not in studio, dealing with a now. Producer Evan, I'd love for you to weigh in on this because this is part of being a dad, and it is my job to instill these values in you so that if and when you become a dad one day, you know how to deal with these situations. So my daughter home sick today from school, but she's sick. So I'm here so that she can stay home, but I'm also not trying to get sick because I want to return to the office. I want to do the show. I want her to be able to go back to school this week. I'm trying to get back to the office. So is it wrong of me to just have shut my door and now I'm in silence here in this room and I'm staying away from the sickness? I mean, I am checking in on her, but does it make me a bad dad to not be like constantly making sure she's okay?
No, I think, protect yourself, but you're there.
Yeah.
You're checking in every now and then. I think that's fine. I feel like that's how my parents used to do it with me.
I mean, she is.
I will tell you, it wouldn't be much better here. I'm certainly getting sick.
Okay, so wait a minute now. Back up a second. You are certainly getting sick.
Yeah.
So you're catching what was going around the building.
Certainly.
Because we've had a run in the building of people being out.
Yeah.
And those people just came back. And now you're starting to not feel good.
Yeah, this morning I woke up nose stuffy.
So is there an argument to be made that those people maybe came back too soon? I'm not trying to put blame on it because these people. They're our friends. But these people who just came back from being sick, did they come back a little too soon?
People are asking questions.
Now they're in fairness, you did help yourself because it was that time of the month. We got an ice cream delivery yesterday in the building.
The ice cream. And that could have been done.
It's a community type setup. And so you don't know what you walked into because when you walked in there yesterday, because I didn't go in there. When you walked in there yesterday, had the ice cream already been opened and did people help themselves already?
Yeah. So, and here's where I think I went wrong too. I opened a new one and then looked at it and was like, oh, there has to be one people have already taken out of, and then put it back and had the other one.
So you had a chance to not get sick from the ice cream, and instead you went for the one. And you didn't even like that flavor, if I remember your report on it later.
Well, there was only one option on flavor.
Oh.
It was just the new flavor.
Just the new flavor, and there were multiple cartons of it.
Yes. It was only one option. Otherwise, I think I would have gone for a traditional vanilla.
And you don't.
They didn't have that.
And you think that's where the sickness came in?
I do, yeah. By the way, not blaming it on the ice cream, just the community aspect of the ice cream.
Correct. The ice cream is great, and every time the email comes into my inbox that there is new ice cream, it changes our day, changes our mood instantaneously because we just love having the ice cream. But I have the same type of fear that you have is like when there's communal food, that's a recipe for me to get sick.
I'm just not. Yeah, that'll be the. Listen. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's the last time I'll go for communal food, but I will certainly keep an eye out more.
Here's my thing. I love a lot of the people that we work with. Like we work with some great people in the building. I don't know if I trust them to properly go into a communal food environment, right? So it's just awareness. It's understanding the situation. And we just like this upcoming preseason game for the Arizona Cardinals, we're going to learn some things. We're going to put some things on tape. We're going to go back to the drawing board and adjust. You now have to make an adjustment here from this experience with the ice cream. Because, again, the ice cream itself was good. You just maybe somebody wasn't very cleanly about getting the ice cream.
And we talked about it, when we talked about Gannon yesterday. At what point do you stop getting that leeway? Am I still in my few early months of getting a little bit of leeway on something like that? Or is that you learn from it now, can't make that mistake again?
You can't make that mistake again, right? And as Brian just points out over on the KDUS AM 1060 YouTube channel, he said he thinks that he and John are up next to get the call, get promoted to the big leagues if you go down because it's next man up for producing. Producer Corey is in the building. I mean, Producer Corey will be the person that slides in and fills in for Evan if he needs a day off because he's sick. But, Brian's making another accusation. He's accusing you of laying the groundwork for a nice 4-day weekend. That's not true. Evan loves this job. Evan loves talking sports every day. I was
going to say, I get to wake up on a Monday. I said this in the morning meeting yesterday. You wake up on a Monday, it's a give and take feel because you're like, it's Monday. You're like, well, my job is I go talk sports. It's a good gig.
It is a very good gig. And speaking of that good gig, let's get back into the football. It's the first preseason game coming up for the Arizona Cardinals here this weekend. And we mentioned it in hour number 1 of the program. The depth chart's pretty solid. It's pretty solidified. It's a good place to be if you were the Arizona Cardinals. You don't have any major starting holes on your team. You're not worried about who's starting at right tackle, a rookie with a veteran who's maybe over the hill and who's going to win that battle. No, Jonah Williams is just going to be the starting right tackle, right? Paris Johnson entrenched as the starting left tackle. So many key components, right? Let's go down the checklist. And for some of you, the first name that I invoke, you won't like this. But if we go to the 5 pillars, the 5 pillar positions that we think are the most important for a franchise, the Cardinals are set at all those positions. Quarterback, Kyler Murray, entrenched as the starter for this season. Wide receiver, Marvin Harrison Jr., entrenched as the starter for this season. Left tackle, Paris Johnson Jr., entrenched as the starter. Edge, Josh Sweat was the big piece that they added here in the offseason, entrenched in that spot. Corner, you throw a dart, pick whoever you want. You want to pick Max Melton? Fine. You want to pick Garrett Williams? Fine. You want to pick Will Johnson? Fine. Any one of those 3 guys, I think, fits exactly what we talk about when we put corner on the 5 pillar positions. So when you check all of those boxes, it does leave some room to just not get that excited about the depth chart getting released. But there is a camp battle to keep an eye on. ESPN asked all their beat reporters to give out one position battle that they are paying attention to. And I think the one that Josh Weinfuss picked for the Cardinals further emphasizes that point about where this roster currently stands, because he picked outside linebacker. And he mentioned Josh Sweat being signed, but talked about Jordan Birch being drafted, and then Zaven Collins, Xavier Thomas, B.J. Ojulari. Quote, one side of the line belongs to Sweat. The other is up for grabs and will be a fight between incumbent starter Collins and the others. Coach Jonathan Gannon said he ideally wants his best players on the field, and his staff will be monitoring snaps. While the rest of the outside linebackers will compete to be a starter, there could be room in certain packages and situations for everybody. End quote. So even in the camp battle, even in the one positional battle that Josh Weinfuss, beat reporter for ESPN for the team, is keeping an eye on, even in that battle, he left the door open to say, well, they're all going to play, or they're all going to have a role, or they're all going to have a package or a situation where they're going to be in. So it's not really a true position battle where this guy's going to start and get a majority, 80, 90, 100% of the workload, and the rest of these guys are only going to be there in case of an injury or they just need a quick rest. So even the one position battle on the team that is being pointed out isn't really your true run-of-the-mill position battle. Not like the Saints and their quarterback battle. Not like the Carolina Panthers and who's going to be their starting center, right? Who's going to be the starting center in Detroit? Who's going to be the starting left tackle for the Chicago Bears? These are other positions that are being picked. Who's going to be the other outside linebacker? But, oh, by the way, they're all really going to play because they're all talented, and Jonathan Gannon likes to rotate these guys in and out of the lineup. So when you start watching over the weekend, when the Cardinals played their first preseason game here, we played the Hall of Fame game last week. We are ready to go. When the Cardinals play the Chiefs this weekend, you're not going to be watching for a lot of major position battles. You're just going to be watching guys get reps. You're going to be watching guys get stuff on tape to make some adjustments and wear off that rust. And you don't even have, Bruce Evan, you've been here. You've been a fan of a team that's made some coaching changes and have brought in, a rookie head coach. The Cardinals a couple years ago had a rookie head coach. That first preseason game matters for that coach because you can wear off some of the rust. You can learn some of the operational things, calling timeouts, calling stuff in 2-minute or 4-minute, when to challenge, when not to challenge, being that head communicator throughout the course of the game. That's where preseason is valid. Well, the Cardinals don't have to worry about any of that. Same coach, same coordinators. Everybody's in the same role. Players, everybody knows the offense. Everybody mostly knows the defense. Even the additions, Josh Sweat, understands the language that Jonathan Gannon is going to use for his defensive scheme. And so you're really just kind of knocking off rust. You're kind of putting stuff on tape, but there isn't really, I'm really selling this preseason game for everybody to enjoy over the weekend, but there isn't really anything that you have to go over with a fine-tooth comb this weekend because most things are settled for the Cardinals. That's what stability brings you. And guess what? Not comparing the two teams, but the team they're playing on Sunday, the team they're playing over the weekend, on Saturday, they've been doing this for a long time with stability. Same coach, same quarterback, most of the same players. They've moved some pieces in and out, but that stability has brought them great success in the Kansas City Chiefs.
Is there anything that you want to see? For me, I know that we're not going to see what the offense really looks like in a preseason game one. But I would like to see them throw the ball a little, maybe see some creativity in the pass game early in a preseason game. Do I think you're going to see a lot? No. You may see none. And it's not a telltale sign. But I would like to see them not lean as heavily on the run game just in one preseason game. Maybe get a look of what this offense is going to look like.
I'll tell you one thing that I would have been excited to see, and it would have gotten me to really block off my schedule, make sure I'm sitting down to watch the game on Saturday, if we got a chance to see Walter Nolan play. Right? If he wasn't banged up and this was his our first chance to see him in an Arizona Cardinal uniform, while it's not going to make or break the rest of his career, I think it would be nice to see because I remember last summer the excitement about Darius Robinson going into preseason and getting a chance to see him play in preseason, right? That excitement builds for those players. And so not getting a chance to see Walter Nolan does, for me at least, kill some of the excitement about the weekend.
It would have been, it might be nice to see Will Johnson get some reps as well.
You're not wrong about that. But again, with somebody who had an injury profile coming out of the draft, how much are you going to push him? Where does that balance sit?
I can't imagine if he does play, and I'm really saying if he plays because I think there's a chance he doesn't. I can't imagine it's longer than a series.
I would assume that if any of the starters draw in here over the weekend, it would be for a series at most. That'd be my guess. There's only risk with pushing it beyond that point. And again, everybody treats preseason this way now. Everybody works off the rust the first 2-3 weeks of the regular season. So you're not behind the eight ball by doing it this way. And what did I say a couple of weeks ago? What do I care about in training camp and in preseason? Health. Health is what I care about. I care about a team staying healthy. I care about a team going into the start of the season with their depth chart looking like the depth chart that we just shared in our number one of the program that got released yesterday by the Cardinals. All of those players being in their spot week one of the regular season. That's what I care about. More so than anything you put on tape, more so any social media clip, health. That is what matters. 480-864-1060 is the phone number for you to join us here today on the program. You can also join us over on the KDUS AM 1060 YouTube live stream. You can watch the video version of the show. You can see me in the home setup. I got a text message from a buddy who's a regular listener to the program, and he's like, where are you doing the show from today? And I just texted him back, my house. My house is the studio today for the program. So comfort of my own home, dealing with some sick child in my house, so making sure she's all good. So we're doing the show from home today. Should be back in the studio with producer Evan tomorrow. On the other side of the break, it's Tuesday. You know what that means? The NFL news up. And boy, do we have plenty of NFL stories to go through. A depth chart released in Cleveland. The Bengals make an interesting decision. We get a trade, an August trade in the NFL. We'll get to all of it in the NFL news dump. We'll do it next. It's the lunch break. KDUS AM 1060.
You're live.
Back here on the lunch break. Usually around this time every Tuesday, especially with the NFL season back up, we do what we call the NFL News Dump. We go around the NFL. Normally we save news dumps for Fridays, but we'll do them here on a Tuesday. We go around the NFL and talk about some of the biggest stories in the world of football. Now, Producer Evan, I'm going to need you to really boost the music today because my headphones here at the home studio are just not, I'm not feeling it today. So I gotcha. I need to really hear the NFL music today. Okay, now we can do the NFL News Dump because I've got the music in my ears. Now, Dan Patrick just talked about this during the break for his Above the Noise thing. The Browns added Tyler Huntley. Put some respect on his name. That's Pro Bowler Tyler Huntley to you. That is because the rest of their quarterback room is either extremely hurt or their name is Joe Flacco. That's it. That's the reason why the Browns have gone to another quarterback. Now, Evan, I didn't mean to steal your thunder. You drive the bus on the NFL News now, but that's our first story, and I just needed to tie it into what Dan was just talking about. Because
it's one of the crazier stories ever. First of all, Dan Patrick said this again at the break, referencing him as the Browns have added Pro Bowl quarterback Tyler Huntley is funny.
Funny, but truthful. He is a Pro Bowl quarterback.
He is.
I actually like Tyler Huntley a lot. I thought when he filled in for Lamar that year, I was super excited because I thought the offense was going to be able to be pretty much the same and do some of the same stuff. And I thought Tyler had a ton of untapped potential. Haven't really seen it come together since that moment.
And I still think that a little.
That he has potential?
That he has potential.
Yeah, but at some point you got to show it more than just in small flashes isn't even the right word. Sparks, like just brief moments.
It was fun when the Ravens, Tyler Huntley was just literally a Lamar prototype. They were running out there as the backup.
I have this take, and this was shared with me many years ago. And since this person shared this take with me, and the person is listening and he knows who he is, so I don't have to officially give him credit because he knows. You want your backup quarterback to be able to run the same offense that your starting quarterback runs. The backup quarterback doesn't need to be the most talented player. They need to be able to run the system the same way that the starter does. Like Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia, right? You can't have Joe Flacco be the backup to Jalen Hurts. The offense doesn't work the same.
Well, Tanner McKee's their backup, so...
And that doesn't really work the same. They had Mariota for a little bit, right?
They did, yeah.
That makes sense, right?
Kenny Pickett was the backup last year.
Also kind of makes sense. A quarterback that's mobile, a quarterback that can extend plays. Tanner McKee, Davis Mills, Joe Flacco would not be quarterbacks that I would put into the system there in Philadelphia. So Tyler Huntley being in Baltimore makes a ton of sense. For Cleveland, they just need bodies. Dylan Gabriel's hurt. Shedeur Sanders is banged up. They don't really want to play Joe Flacco in the preseason. So, Tyler Huntley, you're our guy.
Kyron Williams, 3-year, $33 million extension with the Rams.
We're going to talk about the Rams here in about 10 minutes from now. I love this extension for both sides. Kyron Williams, especially in fantasy, one of the best running backs in the game right now. I think overall one of the best running backs in the game right now. Just scores touchdowns at will. A central focal point for what McVay and the Rams are doing there, and I think it's going to need to be this season with where Matt Stafford is. Again, we're going to touch on this in about 10 minutes because I have a little bit of a bold take I want to share with all of you here today. But I like this deal for Kyron Williams. Obviously, $11 million puts him right in the middle of the pack with running backs getting paid. Reasonable. And for the Rams, they lock up somebody that is a very important piece for what they want to do. They're past the Cooper Kupp era. It's now Puka Nakua's team in the wide receiver room, and it's Kyron Williams' team in the backfield.
Travis Hunter on the depth chart, listed as the starting wide receiver and a second-string corner.
This feels backwards to me, no?
I don't know. They need, as important of a year as it is for Kyler Murray, and as much as we've talked about that, it's almost tenfold for Trevor Lawrence.
100%.
And I know he got paid and everything.
He's on his third
Trevor
coach.
Lawrence is under one of the most pressure seasons for a quarterback I've ever seen.
He's on his third coach.
So his third coach.
Urban Meyer, Doug Peterson, now Liam Cohen.
Now, does Urban Meyer count? That was laughable.
I mean, how bad he was. He was the head coach of the team, so he does count. But I understand your point. Your point being is that was unfair. It's unfair to put that on Trevor Lawrence, right? That Urban Meyer was the head coach. But it is his third head coach. He hasn't broken through. And then they went and got Doug Peterson, who was supposed to be this super talented offensive mind that was going to take Trevor Lawrence to a whole nother level.
And in that first year, it looked like it.
We never got there. We never really got there. And so now you've doubled down, right? Okay, I'll give you the mulligan on Urban Meyer. Mistake, terrible decision. I question a lot about your organization that you thought Urban Meyer was going to be a good NFL head coach in the first place. But okay, I'll give you a pass. You then bring in Doug Peterson, and it doesn't work. You've now doubled down on this idea. We need an innovative offensive mind to work with our quarterback. Okay, so now that person's going to work. Liam Cohen's going to work with Trevor Lawrence. It better work. We say this with ASU. You got to win. Jacksonville, you got to win. Trevor's got to look good. Or else, I know they gave him the extension already, but boy, they're going to be looking to get out of that thing pretty quickly.
And I think that's why he's listed as a wide receiver. And I think if they score 35 points a game but give up 40, people stop asking questions about Trevor Lawrence.
I just think that for somebody, if somebody's going to do the thing where they play both sides, they play two ways. It is much easier to be a starting corner and get a handful of snaps on the wide receiver side of the ball than it is to be a starting wide receiver. You're out there every single time running routes, even if the ball's not getting thrown to you, blocking on running plays. And then, oh, by the way, if somebody goes down, you're going to play corner. It feels backwards to me. They're going to
could also be what they've seen in practice.
Absolutely. It just feels backwards to me, considering that he wants to play both ways. He wants to play both sides. To me, the best way to do that would have him be a starting corner. I think he's better at a corner anyway. And then have a handful of plays as a wide receiver.
I do think, he is a really good receiver prospect. I really like watching him, almost impressed how good of a receiver prospect he was, even to what I thought he was. Eagles and Raiders made a trade yesterday. Quarterback Jacorian Bennett to Philadelphia. Defensive tackle Thomas Booker IV to the Raiders.
Now, before the accusations come in that this story is only in the NFL news dump because producer Evan is a Phillies fan, a Eagles fan, and he is the person in charge of the news dump, I put this story on the dock this morning because I wanted to talk about two things. One, it is rare you see an August NFL trade, right? Especially one of these are names. These are not no names. Like Jacorian Bennett is a known commodity in football.
And a lot of people really like him as a young corner in this league.
The second thing I want to bring up, if Howie Roseman calls you, I know we say we always answer the phone. I don't think I'm answering the phone.
Just hang up.
I'm hanging up. Because what does he see now you start to play the game of what does he see in Jacorian Bennett that I don't see? You start second guessing yourself as a general manager and as a player evaluator. You're like, wait a minute, what did I miss?
Especially after, like, the cherry on top last year is they signed Bond, made him an all-pro.
And then paid him, right? I mean, it's just insane, right? The trades that Howie has been able to pull off. What he turned Carson Wentz into, right? All of the players that the Carson Wentz trade ended up netting the Philadelphia Eagles at the end of the day. So that's the other reason why I wanted to bring it up is because at some point, I think people are going to learn and not trade with the Philadelphia Eagles, or at least be very careful with trading with the Philadelphia Eagles. But no, yesterday the Eagles and Raiders link up for a trade.
Budda Baker was named the most likely future Hall of Famer on Cardinals among active players.
I saw this story on CBS Sports this morning. It was every NFL team's most likely future Hall of Famer. So it picked one player on every team that is most likely potentially going to the Hall of Fame. Not saying that they're guaranteed, and they also said, is this player a current lock with what they have done so far? And the player that they had for the Cardinals was Budda Baker, and they did not have him as a current Hall of Fame lock that he has to make up for some lost time in 2022 and 2023 with injuries. But a 7-time Pro Bowler, a 2-time All-Pro, certainly on pace. By the way, the story did mention quarterback Kyler Murray is another Cardinal to keep an eye on. So, and that's who they have listed because of the injuries in 2022 and 2023. He needs to make up for that lost time, not Brew Baker. Any other team you want to, because I have the list open, any other team you want me to share with you?
I'm trying to think off the top of my head.
Do you think, how about this? Because if you've not seen the list, how many locks do you think there are? Where they've picked a player and they're currently a lock to the Hall of Fame? I have not scrolled down very far in the list, so I don't know the answer. If you wanted to make a prediction.
I think it's probably 20.
20. So 20 of the 32. You think there are 20 locks?
I think there are 20 locks.
So the first lock I see is Derrick Henry in Baltimore.
Yep.
A lot of no's here. Myles Garrett.
Lock.
Still a lot of no's. And they have no's, but trending closer for like Josh Allen and Joe Burrow. They don't even have them as yeses yet. So that's working against you.
See, like
Mahomes is a yes. That's 3.
Mahomes is a lock. And then I actually agree on Allen and
Burrow.
But Lamar's it.
They had Henry as the pick for Baltimore, not Lamar.
Yeah.
Khalil Mack, yes. Stafford, yes. Cameron
Are those
Jordan.
locks or yes?
No, those are locks. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, yes.
Cam Jordan,
yes. Aaron Rodgers, yes. Trent Williams, yes. Mike Evans, yes. Bobby Wagner, yes. So not 20, but a decent amount.
Like Lane Johnson.
Lane Johnson was the pick for Philadelphia, but he was listed as a no, but he's close.
How?
I mean, I'm just reading to you what the story says. Don't blame me, okay? I'm not the one who made the decision. But a
couple people left off that list that I think is egregious.
Do you want to?
Also, I think it's also harder knowing I only get one player a team.
That's the other part.
And I didn't think about that when I had said 20.
Yeah.
But that does make it way more difficult.
It's the other part of the exercise. You can only pick one player. And so that means you have a max of 32, and you wanted to take 20 of them. We got over double digits. I think we got to probably like 12 or 13 by the time it was all said and done. And that's not including, like, they said Joe Burrow, no, but it's trending that way. If we counted all of those as, like, lean yes, the number's probably close to 20. Let's do it. We've got time. Derrick Henry, yes, that's 1. Josh Allen, no, but getting closer. We'll say that is a lean. So 2. Burrow, no, but it's trending that way. 3. Myles Garrett, 4. Micah Parsons, no, but trending that way. That's 5. I'm scrolling down. Mahomes, 6. Max Crosby, no, but trending in the right direction. That's 7. Khalil Mack, that's 8. Matthew Stafford, that's 9. Tyreek Hill, no, but getting close. That's 10. Cameron Jordan is 11. Russell Wilson, no, but close, is 12. Lane Johnson, no, but close, is 13.
Russell Wilson, I get no, but close. But we've seen him play last few years.
That's certainly going to hurt his case the way he's going out in his career.
You would have to have a complete turnaround to what he was before to have another year of younger Russell Wilson, and not just 1, probably 3 to 4 of what he needs.
I would agree with that, yes.
Who is the stronger campaign? Let me ask you this. Who is the stronger Super Bowl or Hall of Fame campaign, Jalen Hurts or Russell Wilson? Very similar career arcs to this point.
I think I would say Jalen, but that's because in the moment he's playing better. So that's, I think, unfair. Let's see where Jalen is when he gets to where Russ is now. Let's see if there's a fall. I don't think there's going to be, but let's see if there's a fall off for Jalen like there was for us. Because if there is, then it's even more similar, right?
Yeah.
It's even closer.
I always told people that was the comp I gave Jalen a lot. It's early Russell Wilson, where
but you need him to be early Russell Wilson the entire time to be a Hall of Famer. Because I do think if Russ continues going down this path, he's not going to get in because it's just going to be such a bad end to his career.
No, I don't think he's getting in if he retired tomorrow.
I tend to agree. 480-864-1060 is the phone number for you to join us here today on the program. When we come back, I know it might be bold. Should the Cardinals be talked about as the favorite in the NFC West? I'll explain next. It's the lunch break. KDUS, AM 1060.
You're live.
Back here on the lunch break, KDUS AM 1060. Appreciate you joining us here today on the program. Whether you're listening to us on the KDUS AM 1060 app, you're streaming the show, KDUS1060.com. You're watching the video version on KDUS AM 1060. We got a lot of ways for you to consume this show, and we greatly appreciate those of you that do that. I want to share a take, and it has to do with where things stand in the NFC West right before the season begins. Because, Producer Evan, I don't know if you've been keeping tabs on this, but Matt Stafford's not practicing for the Los Angeles Rams right now. He is dealing with that bad back. And I saw somebody today put out a tweet that said 37 years old plus a bad back doesn't usually end well, right? 37 years old, bad back, playing football, not usually the recipe for somebody to have a successful season. So when I saw that, it got me thinking. Without Matt Stafford, are the Rams the top team in the NFC West? Because to me, the Rams are the top team in the NFC West because of Matt Stafford and Matt Stafford alone. Now, I'm never going to be one to doubt the coaching job that Sean McVay can do. I'm always going to believe that he can scheme his way to being Mike Tomlin, right? And always finding a way to be above 500 and being in the mix late in the season. But to pick the Rams to win the division, you are basing a lot of it on the health of Matt Stafford. So what if he's not healthy? What if he can't give this team 17 games in the regular season? What if that back is a major problem? To me, that swings the door not just a little open, but it swings it wide open for the Arizona Cardinals.
If Matt Stafford isn't healthy, you then have a serious conversation of this is the Cardinals' division to win. Because you would be the healthy team. And I'm sure a lot of people would then pick the Niners. But you and I have talked about it. I just don't like the Niners roster lined up against the current Cardinals roster. And I think if I had a guarantee that Matt Stafford was going to miss a few weeks, I would take the Cardinals.
You and I have kind of tag teamed this, right? I said that I'm not a big fan of the Seattle Seahawks this upcoming season. I'm not a buyer. I'm not a believer in what they can do as a team. You're not a big believer, and I'm closer to your end of this conversation. You're not a big believer in the San Francisco 49ers. So if we just combine the two of us, say those two teams are out, and this is the Rams or the Cardinals, I'll take what you said, and I'll go a step further. It's the Cardinals' division to lose if Matt Stafford isn't healthy for the Los Angeles Rams. The Cardinals, to me, become the prohibitive favorite to win the NFC West. And I know there's all the reasons why they won't. Kyler Murray doesn't play well. There's too much new defensively. Marv doesn't take that next step. There are reasons that they won't reach that point. But if you told me right now Matt Stafford's only playing in 12 games for the Rams next season, I would pick the Cardinals to win this division right now. I would pick the Cardinals to be the favorites in this division right this second. That's the team that would, to me, be the favorite. All of the Rams' chances, just like most teams' chances, ride on their quarterback, but their chances ride on a quarterback who's 37 and who has a bad back and who has had a bad back for the last couple of years. So to me, the door swings wide open. I think it falls off the hinges, and the Cardinals are right there in position to capitalize because their roster is stable. They've got talent all over the place. They're going to want to make up for what happened at the tail end of last year and them missing out on an opportunity to win this division and host a home playoff game. And I think it would be theirs for the taking.
And I think we talk about the Rams. Remember, they weren't healthy to start last year, and they were a bad football team at the start of last year.
They struggled, right? 2-4 to start the year, if I remember correctly.
2-4 to start the year. They were a bad football team. And so if you get a 2-4 start this year, that's a lot of room for the Cardinals. Last year, it didn't feel that way, whereas you kind of needed a bigger slip up from the Rams. A 2-4 start this year for the Rams puts the Cardinals in a really good spot.
Rams last year, how about this? They started 1-4 before their bye week. So their bye week was in week 6. They started 0-2 They lost to Detroit in overtime. They lost at home to the Cardinals. Cardinals blew them out 41-10, if you remember that game. They then beat San Francisco the following week, but then lost to the Bears in Chicago and then lost at home against Green Bay. They went into the bye week 1-4. They ended the season. This is me doing math on the fly. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They went 6-2 from week 11 through the end of the season to finish out. So they played very well in the last couple weeks of the season before doing what they did against Minnesota and then losing the close game to Philadelphia. This year, we talked about a potential 2-4 start again. They open up home against Houston, at Tennessee, at Philly, home against Indy. You would expect that to be a 2-2 stretch, right? At Tennessee and home against Indy feel like 2 games that they could have. And then their short week against San Francisco and then at Baltimore, their first 6 games. You could see a world where they lose to Houston, they lose to Philly, they lose to San Francisco, they lose to Baltimore, and they're 2-4.
That could certainly be a 2-4 start, especially if the quarterback isn't 100%.
And just circle it now. Week 18, they play the Cardinals-Rams to end the season. That game could be very, very meaningful if these two teams are what we think they're going to be, if we think these two teams are the top 2 teams in the NFC West. But to me, if Matt Stafford isn't healthy, and the reason why I bring this up, because yes, quarterbacks are important to every team, right? You lose your starting quarterback, that is a death sentence. You don't stand a chance. But in this case, you have a more risk at the quarterback position than most teams because you have an older quarterback, right? Pittsburgh inherently is at a bigger risk to have an injury with their quarterback because they have Aaron Rodgers, right? The Giants with Russell Wilson, an older quarterback. On top of Matt Stafford being an older quarterback, he also has a very serious back injury that is forcing him to miss the start of camp. He's not practicing for this team right now. So that is something that should be a major concern as we start this season. So just some breadcrumbs that I'm following, just something to keep an eye on, that this division is, I still think it's the Rams to lose if Stafford is healthy, but Stafford's health is a major question mark here as we get closer and closer to the season. 480-864-1060 is the phone number for you to join us here today on the program. We got one more before we are out of here today. We hand things off to Jim Rome at the top of the hour. Before that, it is the leftovers. All the stories we didn't get to throughout the course of the program. We'll have them for you next. It's the lunch break, KDUS, AM 1060.
You're live.
Back here on the lunch break, wrapping things up. We'll get to the stories that producer Evan has in the leftovers in just a second. Jonathan Gannon is meeting with the media as we speak. Shared a couple of things. Marvin Harrison Jr. returning to camp, returning to practice today for the Arizona Cardinals. That is a good thing. And the starters are going to play in the preseason opener against the Kansas City Chiefs. So there you go, producer Evan. The starters will be participating this weekend, probably to your point, just for a series. But unlike the first 2 years for Jonathan Gannon as the coach, in which Kyler Murray did not play and the starters did not play, they are going to play this weekend against the Kansas City Chiefs.
I wonder if we're just starting to see the pendulum swing the other way, right? Like every time in everything, it just kind of comes back and forth. For years, we saw them play, and we haven't seen them play. Now I wonder if the philosophy is, well, maybe they should play a little.
I just think, in baseball, there's 162 games. In, basketball, hockey, you have over 80 games to work with. In football, you have 17. I can't afford to give one away because I'm still shaking off rust because I didn't play my starters in preseason. And I do think there are teams that are trying to figure out the right balance because I do not think playing them for a full game or a full half or 3 quarters is the right thing either. I think teams are trying to find the right balance of what gets my guys in a position where they are shaking off that rust and they are ready to go in week 1 while also mitigating the risk that I'm putting on them to getting hurt in games that ultimately have zero meaning to me. I think that balance is still trying to be found out by different teams, and I think teams are going to go about this in different ways until a consensus emerges as to what the right thing to do is. And I don't know if one will. All players are different, all teams are different, schemes are different, but I do think that's what teams are trying to search for.
And I also think from, take the Bengals, we talked about Burrow playing. Last year, they missed the playoffs by a game.
Yeah, but not because of their offense. To me, that's
I understand that. I understand that. But remember, they lost week 1 to New England. And I think they only scored 10 points.
Yeah, but the reason why they lost...
But that's the point of you can't shake off rust. They lost 16-10 in week 1 at home against New England.
No, granted. And that's why I think more of what they're doing by playing Burrow and the starters in preseason is more of an optics thing to their fans to say, we're not coming out of the gates slow this year, right? Look at us. We're putting our guys out there in preseason. Our starters are playing. That's more of, I think, red meat to the fans to get them, off the case a little bit about the slow start to last year. But I think a slow start is still in the cards for any team because preseason is not what it used to be. So Marv back out of practice. Starters are going to play at least a little bit. That does include Kyler Murray. That was confirmed. So the starters are going to play at least somewhat in the preseason game on Saturday against the Chiefs. Now I pass it over to producer Evan for the rest of the leftovers.
Real quick, though. What we talked about as not being a very entertaining preseason game has really flipped the switch.
It changed a little bit. Yeah, I'm a little more excited for Saturday. Yeah, a game that I didn't think was going to have meaning because last 2 years starters haven't played. Starters are going to play. So you know what? For the first 10 minutes of the game on both sides of the ball, I'm in. I'm in on Saturday.
Speaking of shaking off the rust, Aaron Judge is going to be returning for the Yankees today in their series versus the Rangers in what could be one of the most important series of their season.
Yeah, coming back from a flexor strain in his throwing arm. He hurt it, I think it was in Toronto when they first started to see him kind of shaking his arm out there. It wasn't until a couple of days later that they shut him down and then ultimately put him on the injured list. He is returning as a DH, so he is not playing the field tonight. They'll then see from there if he is comfortable enough swinging the bat and how his arm reacts to that, playing him again the following day. I do think we're a couple of days away, if not maybe a week or two away, from him going back out into the field. And so the juggling act for the Yankees is what they do out in right field. Do they try to put Stanton out there? Obviously can't move very well, but they don't want to put Judge out there because if he does tear his elbow, that's Tommy John, and that's an extended period of time that he's going to miss. So they have to monitor this very carefully. They need his bat back in the lineup. They need his leadership back there because things are just not going well there in New York. And from baseball as a whole, this is one of the biggest stars in the game. The game is better when Aaron Judge is playing.
And you brought it up, but it's a fine line because of all the injuries Stanton has had. You can't put him out there anymore. And
they're going
you need his bat in the lineup because he's been probably their best hitter.
They are going to, especially in the postseason, Stan's been their best hitter. They're going to put him out there. It may be on a short-term basis, maybe a week or two until Stanton can get right, or until Judge can get right and go back out there in the field. But for right now, I think Stanton's going to find a couple of times out there in the field until Judge can take it back over.
Hard Knocks, as well as Netflix's Any Given Saturday, the SEC show, will both release today. Some things to watch if you're a football fan.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff on. This SEC show is going to be interesting, I actually think.
Allow me to maybe create a new drop for us. Who cares? Nobody. Not me. I don't care.
I think the SEC show is going to be very interesting. Also, little thing about Hard Knocks, interesting to have a good team on it. You know, typically the rules are you can't make the playoffs, but now we've kind of thrown those out the door.
So this SEC show, is this why I'm seeing a clip of Brian Kelly talking to his agent, who is also Garrett Nussmeier's agent on social media?
Yes.
So again, further proving my point that you don't need to actually sit down and watch the show to know what is going on these shows, because the good stuff makes it to social media. You could look at it that way. The show is getting released today, and already before you talked about it in the leftovers, I've seen a clip of it this morning.
That was in the trailer.
I saw somebody tweet this out this morning.
And you could look at it that way, or you could watch the show and be like, "Oh, Garrett Nussmeier seems like a good guy. Maybe I'm a fan of his now." Maybe it's about finding who you like and not just the clips.
I'm good. I know what I don't like. I don't like these shows. How about that?
Bleacher Report wrote an article this morning. The biggest risers and fallers of after the deadline for their prospect system. Thought this was interesting.
Okay.
The three biggest fallers. Number 3, the Toronto Blue Jays. Pre-deadline rank were 25. Post-deadline rank 27.
Does that really count? By the way,
these aren't... What?
Does that count as a fall? You had a bad prospect system before. You have a worse prospect system now.
These aren't massive. Number 2 faller, the San Diego Padres.
Well, you trade the number 3 prospect in the game. Yeah, you're going to fall a little bit.
They went from 26 to 30.
Again, you were a bad prospect system as it was. Now you're the worst. Okay.
And the number 1 faller, the Philadelphia Phillies. They went from 5th to 13th.
Okay, see now, but that's something. Top 5 system in the game. Now I'm outside the top 10. There's something there. Were the Diamondbacks one of the risers?
They were not.
Disappointing.
The risers, the Orioles from 18 to 14. The Minnesota Twins from 12 to 3.
Yeah, Twins did well.
And the Athletics from 21 to 9.
That is going to do it for us here on this edition of The Lunch Break. Jim Rome is coming up next. Producer Evan, thank you for all that you do. Everybody, have a great rest of your Tuesday. We will talk to you tomorrow. See ya.